Hello everyone, and welcome to Sprout. This is a game that is played between you and the computer, which actually just generates random moves, and you and you have 50-50% chance if you play randomly. So there is the rules are like that. You have 3 dots initially, and first you need to make a line. You need to connect dot to another dot or itself. So as you can see, you have possible moves right here. The dot can be connected to itself, looping around other dot, or just into another dot, or to itself. Secondly, a line may be bent in our case. This is the bends. As you can see, it generates like that, so it looks like it may look like it's very close to another dot, but in reality they're not connected. After drawing a line, a new dot will be placed on this newly drawn line. It will be placed anywhere on the bends, but it doesn't matter where exactly. It will be placed randomly, and after that, a turn is passed to another player. Okay, each dot cannot have more than 3 lines connecting it. So when a dot has 3 lines, it can no longer be connected to anything else and is considered a dead dot. And the player who is now not able to make a move loses. This module does not strike upon losing, but it will have a huge cooldown before resetting. Before resetting the puzzle and generating a new one. So it is not actually a problem if you are on a long bomb. You can just start by spamming the button, and if it doesn't solve, repeat again. It's one of the strategies to solve. Another one is just playing normally, and since I don't see any reason to do so, because there is no thinking that you can perform in order to do anything, to do a useful move, if you don't know the scheme on how to always solve it. So the third way right here is using these graphs to always win if you are the first player. So the odd graph is what you currently have. So on our first move we're on the first position, on our second move third, on our third move fifth, and to the right is what we need to do. So in our case we'll always start with the 3 dots, and we need to, as you can see, always start with looping a dot around other dot, and this 4th dot is going to be placed on this new line. Like here we have a dot looping around other dot, and it's going to have a new dot placed on this line. So now we have now we're going to the 3rd column, and this is where things start to get confusing. So this graph right here, so in each column consecutive it has 1 more dot. Here we have 3 dots, 4, 5, 6, and by the way, blue is your move, your lines, red is computer lines, gray is just what you can do right now. So let's find which graph we have right now. Important part of these graphs is they can be inverted, which means that everything outside any loop and inside any loop inside the loop can be swapped, because it will save the same it will inverting like that will save the possibility for each dot to connect to another dot. So let me rephrase. Let's take a look, for example, at this graph, top right. But before that, not all dots are drawn on the scheme. So for example, a dot where a line is connected to an arc is present. So for example, this one is a dot because the line is connected to the arc. This is also a dot. This is a dot. This is a dot. This, and these are dots, and so on. So let's take a look at the top right graph. We have a loop like that. And we have a loop inside. So inverting the graph means just place in this loop here, placing everything outside inside. So that would mean we would take this loop and take the part that is outside, put it inside, and the part which is outside, inside, we put outside. And this is considered, these are considered the same graphs. So if you cannot find the graph on the scheme, you just try to make it invert it and see if it works. And if it still doesn't work, that means that your graph is not present in the table, and you actually can do any move that you want and you will still win. So you can also take this loop here and place everything which is here inside this loop. So it would just be a huge loop, and we just place everything outside inside. So it's going to be, this is the line right here. Oh, and by the way, this dot right here is this dot, and this dot which is not connected to the line is this dot. So, and yeah, like that. Yeah, when you revert the graph, of course, as I said, each pair of dots will save its condition of, sorry, each pair of dots will save its possibility to connect each other. So if we take, for example, this dot and this dot, if they can be connected in normal graph, they have to be able to connect in inverted graph, which is right here. They're still able to connect. And for each pair of dots that cannot be connected in normal graph, they cannot be connected in inverted graph, and vice versa. Okay, now let's solve the module. And okay, what graph do we have? We have this thing right here, this right here, and the dot outside, which is 5 dots, which is this one, but inverted. Yeah, you can see here. Sorry, I forgot a dot. Where is it? It's right here. Yep, this is the graph. We have a dot right here inside this semicircle, and this dot is outside the graph. And this is actually a normal graph, not inverted. So we do a move to the right of this graph. So we're going to connect this dot, and this newly dot will appear here. So we do this move. So connect this dot to this dot. By the way, sometimes the moves you want to make will not always exist on the module. In this case, you just have to do another move and hope for the best. Come on. Okay. Connected these two dots. Let's see what we have from the fifth column. By the way, one thing. If on this point you have a graph that each dot, so for each dot of the graph, it can be traveled to another dot. That means this graph is not present in this column, and you can just spam until you win. In our case, we have a dot right here, which cannot be connected to every other dot. So this graph should be present right here somewhere, but I don't know. Let's check first. So what I mean by that is, for example, if you don't have any separate, if your graph cannot be separated in two graphs, like this is one graph, this is second graph, and sorry, this is second and this is third, and they cannot be traveled to each other. This is first graph, this is second, this is first, this is second, and this is third. This is first, second, and third, and this is first, and this dot is the second. So in our case, we have two graphs. This dot is graph number 1, and this whole thing is graph number 2. And as I mentioned, there is only one graph, full graph, that has two graphs in total, and one of them is a dot. This is this one. So this whole thing is graph number 1, and this dot is graph number 2. And let's see if it's actually what we need. Okay, we have right here. Oh, I have the drone already. Sorry, I connected the wrong lines. I'm sorry. I don't see anything. Let's just reset the page. Oh, not the page. Okay. Like here. Yep. Okay. Let's see if this thing matches this thing. Okay. So this dot right here is inside a loop with two dots only. But in our case, yeah, it is inside a loop of two dots only. What else can we see? If we place it outside of the thing, that means that it's going to be outside, and we have two. Okay, actually, this is not the graph on this thing because this dot is inside a loop of two dots, and if you look at them, these dots and this dot have three connections, and on this graph here, this dot has only two connections, which means this is not the case, and it's actually a graph not present in this column, so we can really do anything we want. Yeah, as I said, after you have a graph that is not present in your column, you can perform any move and still win. Okay, let's do one more. Always start with looping over another dot. Okay, I believe this is the same graph. We have a dot, have two dots connected, like this. Oops. and we have a dot here and a dot here. Okay, this is the same graph here, but mirrored. Let me mirror it for convenience. Oops. Okay, this one, and we need to connect this dot to this dot as it says here. So this dot is the one opposite the dot in the cycle, so it's this one, and we need to connect it to this dot. Okay, we connect it to the dots, and it connected this dot to itself, right? Yeah. Okay, let's see. Once again, we have a graph that has every dot connected to other dot in some way except for one. So we have one graph and the second graph as a dot, which, as I said, is the only case for this one. Let's see if connections are saved. So I believe it's the same case. This one right here has 3 connections, this right here has 3 connections, but here the dot in the loop has one of the dots with only 2 connections, which is not the case, so we can do anything we want. Let's try another one. Okay, looping. Okay, finally something different. Okay, we have a loop with a dot inside and a separate loop. It's this one. So what we need to do is make this work with this loop and connect one moment. So what we need to do is connect these 2 dots outside, because as you can see here, the new dot is going to be outside the loop, which in our case, this loop right here becomes this semicircle, which is confusing still. So we need to place the line not inside but outside. Okay, so what we have right now, let me redraw this thing for convenience. And now we have this line right here connected to one of the lines of this loop, doesn't matter which one. And let's see what we have. And now this is actually the case. As you can see, we have a dot inside a loop, this loop. So this dot is connected to this dot and has a dot on the line. So this is the line. And this dot right here creates a loop with the line here. So what we need to do is connect this dot to this dot. So in our case, it's going to be connect this dot to this dot. We're going to connect this dot, which is this dot, to the dot opposite the dot that is opposite the dot that is connected. So we're going to connect the dot to the one of the dots on this cycle. It's not this dot because this one is directly connected to this dot, so it's going to be the other one, this one. So we need to connect this dot to this dot right here. And the last move is always the winning one. You traveled all 3 directions. Sorry, columns. maybe let's do one more example. Okay, it's the same one. And what we do is connect these two dots outside. Oh, this looks really confusing. Okay, we have two same loops, I believe. Okay, we have a line like here that is connected like here, has a dot right here, a dot inside here, and the same thing but without a dot in the middle. Is it present here? Yes, this is the third one. And what we need to do is connect them both. So we connect the right dot of this one to, I believe, the right dot of this one. So out of these three dots, we connect it to the one which is not, which does not lead to a vertical line, because these two dots already have three connections. So we take the dot opposite the dot that is inside, so this one, and connect it to this thing. And finally we win. Anyway, I believe this is enough examples. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.